Thank you so much, Denver. A very good morning to you and a very good morning to all our viewers. Thank you so much for crossing back to us. Not back to us, but to us. It feels like back because we've been doing this since Monday. I'm Dapa Ambabi coming to you live from the MTC Dome in the Ironga region in Swakopmund as we continue to bring you an update of the fourth national skills competition that is taking place right here. Now, in the background, if only I could show you, but I'll show you later. So much is happening as the competitions are expected to start at 9 o'clock. But we definitely do have a jam-packed show for you. We're talking about 170 competitors taking part, pardon me, in 16 skill areas where they have to show off their skills, and the winners have to go represent Namibia at a global stage that is in Shanghai, China. And basically, we are rooting for them, we are supporting them, and there is so much that is happening as we continue. That is, of course, to bring you an update. But this morning, we will be joined by the former CEO of the NTA, that is Mr. Jerry Beukes, who is currently the program manager for Pro TVET Project 3, that is funded by GIZ. We'll equally be joined by Mercy Situmbeko, who is the manager for training and development at Nampower Training Center, just to give us her views on this year's fourth edition of the National Skills Competition. And last but definitely not least, we'll close off with that is Mr. Tobias Nambala, who is the General Manager of TVET Regulations at the Namibia Training Authority. Those are some of the engagements you can look forward to this morning, only after this. Welcome back. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we'll now be speaking to Mr. Jerry Beukes, who is the former Chief Executive Officer of the Namibia Training Authority. But now he is in his current capacity, he is still involved in the TVET sector. He's now the Program Manager of the promotion of TVET projects, a project of GIZ that is funded by the Republic of Germany. Now, this project is currently in its third stage or third phase through its significant investment that it has made towards strengthening the transformation of Namibia's TVET sector. Mr. Beukes, thank you so much for joining us and good morning.
Good morning, Dapewa. It's a pleasure to be here this morning and to be having this conversation with you.
All right. Mentioned earlier, two times now, that you are the former Chief Executive Officer of the Namibia Training Authority. Can you just talk to us about your role back then, seeing that you are also part of the inception of the National Skills Competition, and how would you say it has evolved over the years?
Yes, we had an informal conversation but earlier, and it's really a bittersweet moment for me in the sense that I was at the Namibia Training Authority, actually joined in 2014 when we were in the early stages of becoming part of the World Skills International family. And that also gave birth then to the preparation and planning of the first ever national skills competition, which we hosted in 2016 at Ramatex in Windhoek. We started out fairly small. We had support from the World Skills International community, particularly from a team that came from South Korea, to assist us through a UNESCO-funded project, Better Education for Africa's Rise, or BEAR project. And that's how it all took shape back in the day. And we were able back then to pull it off with, at the time, just over 100 competitors, I think about 40, 50 experts who obviously assist the competitors and help prepare them for the competition. And we started out with about 9 or 10 skill areas at the time. Now we're seeing, and I'm truly amazed that we're now at well over 170 competitors, over 140 experts, primarily trainers and some industry experts. And then also the skill areas keep growing. We're now at 16 skill areas, and it's not just what we offer already at vocational training centers and vocational training providers, but we continue to add skill areas, new skill areas, in some instances referred to as future skills also. So I'm really pleased to see that we now have mechatronics also,
Yeah.
which is an occupation that is still not formalized as part of our training system at the moment, but it's one of those that we need to be introducing as soon as possible, and to have it here as one of the skill areas as part of the skills competition is really an important development.
Yeah. Which skill area stands out for you?
Well, they all, I think, important for us as a country, but the one that fascinates me quite a bit is automotive.
Okay.
And you know, where you can really just stand there and see how the competitors are going about their business. I think that is one of the important ones. And keeping in mind now that we're bringing in electric vehicles, etc., etc. So that skill area also needs to evolve from automotive mechanics. Now it's also called, in our context, automotive mechatronics, which is a combination of trades that we had formerly, you know, diesel, petrol, mechanic, etc.,
Yeah.
electronics. We're now combining all of those into automotive mechatronics, which is really futuristic in terms of the approach.
Amazing. I mentioned earlier on that you are the program manager of the promotion of TVET Project 8 at GIZ, and it's currently in its third phase. Can you just talk to us about the project?
So the PEWA, I must say, and to our viewers also, support from the German government to the TVET sector in Namibia goes back as far as 2012. That is when the first Pro-VET project, at the time promotion of vocational education and training, was conceptualized. So we've come a long way. It's you know, about 13 years at the moment, and as you alluded to, we are now into our third phase. We've done a good number of things over the years, and I'm sure we'll get back to that later in the conversation. But under the current phase, dubbed as Pro-TVET, so promotion of technical vocational education and training, we have 4 key focal areas at the moment. And we primarily work with the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture, the TVET Directorate in the Ministry, as our political partner, with the Namibia Training Authorities, our implementing partner, and with the TVET department at NUST also. We have 4 key focal areas. Firstly, under the current phase, which commenced in July 2022 and will be ending in March 2026, under the first focal area, we work closely with the Ministry and NTA on the implementation of the TVET policy of 2021, related more so to reforms pertaining to governance and steering structures. So we've conducted a number of studies related to overlapping mandates and functions of governance bodies in TVET and higher education. That's NTA, NQA, the Council for Higher Education. We've worked on a study pertaining to a governance or potential governance structure for state-owned vocational training centers. We've assisted the ministry with the development of a national work integrated learning policy. And we've also done quite a lot of work with the NTA on barriers to access for persons with disabilities and youth from marginalized groups and communities. So that's under the first focal area. Under the second focal area, we are supporting 10 selected training providers, mostly state-owned vocational training centers, but also community-based training centers, and 1 private training provider, with a number of measures focusing on industrial attachment for trainers.
Yeah.
We recently had a pilot here at the coast where a number of trainers came to employers and companies here at the coast for exposure and attachment. We're also looking at career guidance, the alignment with industry, and how the centers respond to you know, the needs of industries in their vicinity. So there's a lot of work being done with the 10 centers, including training for the managerial staff. Then with NUST, under the third focal, we also focus on e-learning and rollout of e-learning, or blended learning.
Yeah.
With NUST, we're working on training of trainers, new programs that we support NUST with in terms of development. And then finally, we added a fourth focal area to our project at the end of 2023, beginning of 24, where we focus now on skills related to renewable energy and green hydrogen. We have a number of activities. So the first one was to create awareness amongst TVET stakeholders, and we've just concluded skills gap analyses across 11 occupational areas related to renewable energy and green hydrogen. And we'll be taking the next steps in terms of short courses and capacitation of trainers related to these gaps that we've identified.
All right. So, among the various initiatives, what would you single out or highlight in terms of what you were able to achieve?
So over the years, a lot of significant achievements with impact as well. I would highlight quite a number. One, in terms of development of standards and qualifications. So our support to the NTA over the years has included the review and revision of existing standards and qualifications in electrical, in welding, in some of the other trades and occupations, but we've also added some new occupations. So agriculture in TVET was non-existent.
Yeah.
We've supported the NTA with that. Solar, for example, solar installation and maintenance is one of the new occupations that we've introduced, and heavy plant operator training is also one of the new ones that was introduced. Training of trainers has always has been a big focus over the years. So we've been able to support the NTA with the capacitation of trainers so that they can also train up to higher levels on the national qualifications framework. The reintroduction of the work integrated learning program, as part of our support to the NTA, where apprenticeship training was revived, and so there's a big focus now also on apprenticeship training as a game changer for the TVET sector, because as an apprentice you are effectively an employee. NBC has some apprentices, I'm sure, still have, and they are there 70% of the time at the workplace, and they go intermittently to the training institutions for the theoretical grounding. But we've also, as part of the greening of TVET in the last 2-3 years, also co-financed by the European Union, we've been able to construct solar plants at the 3 VTCs in the north and at Gobaba's VTC, taking care of their electricity or energy needs, but also serving as training sites. And then finally, what is very impactful, and we heard about this at the TVET conference yesterday, is the training hub that was established in the central north of the country, consisting of Valambola, Inanna, and Nakayale VTCs, co-financed by the German Ministry, Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, or the BMZ, and the European Union, where we've created a model following or applying a holistic approach that included infrastructure, equipment, training of trainers, e-learning, rebranding or a new brand identity for those 3 vocational training centers in the hub. And it's really a model that is worth replicating elsewhere in the country when it comes to sharing of resources, and just cooperation and collaboration between training institutions.
Yeah. Mr. Beukes, perhaps briefly before we let you go, what does the future hold in terms of continued, and sustained support for the TVET sector?
The future, I believe, for TVET is bright. One, with an event like this, the National Skills Competition, which is still an integral part of our initiatives to promote TVET in Namibia, and to address the stigma that TVET is for the underachievers, etc. We are now attracting a lot of talent into the TVET sector, so that is significant. Secondly, from a funding perspective, we know that the German government will continue to support the TVET sector through GIZ, but also through the development bank, the German Development Bank, KfW, and those announcements, more announcements will be made later this year when the government-to-government negotiations will be taking place in November. But we also know that the European Union has been supporting the TVET sector and will continue to support into the future. So I think in terms of collaboration and partnership, and continuing with the reforms in the TVET sector to improve quality and expand the sector in terms of intake capacity, the future is really promising, I think.
All right. Well, Mr. Beukes, thank you so much for joining us on Good Morning Namibia, and we wish you a great day ahead.
Thank you, Dapewa. It was a pleasure to be
All
here.
right.